A couple of you have probably seen the video I uploaded about the Colonial derailing due to vandals. Go check that out if you haven't. However, a few months earlier, the same train would have a different problem, a dump truck and a derailment. However, it doesn't end very well. This is the story of the Newport News Grade Crossing accident. On April 29th, 1992, a 1980 Mack tandem dump truck was driving from Shears Concrete Incorporated in Gloucester, Virginia, and was headed to Concrete Express Incorporated in Newport News. The truck was carrying 15 tons of sand, and 61-year-old Sam L. Chandler was in charge of delivering the load of sand. He was also an advocate for the handicapped who taught sign language at the Rappahannock Community College. But however, Chandler would never reach his destination. Chandler was traveling east on Needles Drive in Newport News, and his challenge is to cross the Bell King Road crossing to arrive at his destination. But there was a problem. The crossing didn't have any gates, red lights, and bells. It only had warning signs known as crossbucks. Meanwhile, in the same area, Amtrak train number 94, the Colonial, was flying through Newport News at 79 miles an hour. The train had recently left Newport News Station and was headed to New York Penn. The train consisted of Amtrak F40PH 302 leading and was pulling 5 Amfleet cars. 96 passengers and 4 crew members were on board the train. John Armstrong was the engineer of the Colonial that day. As soon as Chandler approached the Bell King Road crossing, it happened. He turned right and he wasn't slowing down or even stopping, and he didn't notice the oncoming train on the passenger side of his truck. It seems that he was trying to beat the train and tried to make it across the tracks. Armstrong notices this and immediately blows the horn, hoping Chandler would get the attention of the oncoming train. But it was too late to prevent disaster. At 8:21 a.m., the train slams into the truck and topples out the tracks into a ravine. The force of the impact from the debris of the truck was shoved under the locomotive, causing the engine and cars to topple off the tracks. Parts of Chandler's truck were found twisted and crushed about 300 yards from the crossing. F40PH 302 derailed and plowed through a brushy, muddy ravine, with the nose being dented. The first 2 cars jackknifed on the tracks about 750 feet by the crossing, and the last 3 cars were thrown on the right side. The derailment happened not far from where Amtrak 95 derailed at a siding near the Bell King Road crossing, 75 yards away. When rescue workers arrived along with people from the neighborhood, they were helping passengers from the train, while others were screaming powerlessly on top of the Amfleets. According to hospital workers, 53 out of the 96 passengers were injured. Most were broken bones, chest and back aches, and the most serious injury, a broken leg. The uninjured were either taken back to the station to their cars or the Warwick Recreational Center. It would have been worse if it wasn't for the decision of the passengers to sit in the rear cars. Chief of Emergency Medical Services David Barrick said that the locomotive spilled 1,500 gallons of diesel fuel and could have caught fire. Police Lieutenant Carl Burr stated that the train had narrowly missed an electrical pole.
If any power lines had touched the train cars, it could have been catastrophic.
Chandler was the only fatality in the accident. He was found dead under the cab of his truck on a weedy embankment. It was the deadliest accident in Newport News until the August derailment 4 months later. Then there's the question, who was at fault for this accident? First off, the crossing, like mentioned earlier, didn't have any gates, red lights, and bells, and the road crossed the tracks at a 63-degree northeast angle rather than a 90-degree perpendicular turn. And because of the acute angle of their approach to the crossing from Chandler's view, and no gates, red lights, and bells, he had to rely on his eyes and ears. His eyes were also blocked by the truck's cab, and he didn't hear any horn, so he assumed the tracks were clear, which is the reason why he crossed the tracks without stopping. But witnesses said that he crossed the same exact crossing the day prior before the incident on April 28th, which meant that he was familiar with the area. Sight distance tests using an Amtrak passenger train and a 3-axle dump truck showed that because of the angle and the structure of the truck's cab, Chandler would not have been able to see the train approaching from the north. The NTSB was also concerned about this and recommended the city of Newport News to realign the Bell King Road crossing to be perpendicular to the tracks to prevent this from happening. Now let's move on with the Amtrak engineer. Witnesses claimed that Armstrong failed to blow his horn 2 seconds before impact. The most likely reason he didn't blow the horn is because of the geometry of the road, the track layout, and reaction. And to the engineer, it didn't look like the truck was about to cross. It looked like the truck was driving alongside the train. The engineer only realized the truck was a threat the moment it turned right onto the crossing. The speed of the train made the human reaction too slow because a human reaction time usually takes about 1.5 to 2 seconds. And by the time the engineer processed that the truck wasn't stopping, the train had already traveled over 200 feet, which explains why he didn't blow his horn 2 seconds before impact, and there was no time to apply the emergency brakes. On July 24th, 1992, the NTSB released its final report and stated that Chandler was at fault for the accident because of his failure to stop the truck and yield the right-of-way to the train. And the engineer was never responsible for the crash and wasn't charged with a crime or safety violation. And the NTSB determined that he was operating the train at the legal speed and that his delayed horn was a result of human reaction time. Chandler's family would later sue the Amtrak and CSX Railroad, and the case went to court but didn't reach the final jury verdict, and the case was settled for an undisclosed amount after 3 days of trial. After the incident, the pain ran deep in Chandler's family. Vicki Chandler and her mother Barbara Chandler and her other family members cited an observation of the anniversary of Chandler's death. Barbara said that her and Chandler would be married for 39 years on July 25th, 1992. And she said it was really hard explaining the accident to the 3 of her 7 children who were deaf. Barbara explained that she accustomed to dealing with tragedy. In 1969, she said her brother drowned while in college. And in 1974, her father was killed in Richmond. And police never solved the crime. Now that's sad. Barbara now avoids grade crossings and didn't walk across the tracks on Thursday. After the accident, Chandler's truck was damaged beyond repair and scrapped. As for the F40PH in rolling stock, 302 was eventually repaired and was put back into service. The unit will later be sold to New Jersey Transit, still keeping its original number board. Then it will be later sold to the Agence Métropolitaine de Transport Railway in Quebec. Then it will be sold to the St. Louis Central Railroad in Massachusetts, where it would run on the Cape Flyer with the horn being replaced with a P5. It would then be sold to Larry's Truck and Electric in Lordstown, Ohio, where it would be retired and scrapped. But this wasn't the end of the story. In December 1992, Newport News officials decided to scrap plans to erect flashing lights and gates at the Bell King Road crossing, in favor of building another access road that would eliminate the crossing. And as of 2026, the crossing doesn't exist anymore, as it was replaced with a track instead of a road. But on the other side of the tracks, there is still a piece of road left and a warning sign. And the rail line is still active today with CSX trains running, but no Amtrak trains. Because the Newport News train station was moved a few miles north, and it was opened on August 22nd, 2024, and as of now, the old Newport News station is closed. It's been 34 years since this crash, and drivers still disobey the laws of stopping at grade crossings, like this one in King Street, South Carolina. A garbage truck crossed the tracks without stopping and looking both ways, into the path of an Amtrak train. Thankfully, the driver got out of the truck with minor injuries. Now, everyone watching this video, please do me a favor, and please slow down when you're approaching a grade crossing. Look both ways and listen for any trains in the area, and don't cross the tracks when the gates are coming down. And most importantly, don't even think about racing a train, because in most cases, you're not likely gonna make it. If your vehicle up and dies on the railroad tracks, get out fast. Don't try to take anything with you, and run away from the track. Now, let's hope nothing like this ever happens again.